run away from too many monsters with 9 agility just yet, but they should be able to tackle enemies as strong as the Magician, perhaps. So there should be plenty of choices. We're going to get started now, see what's in the throne room. Maybe they'll get something to help them out even further. Got nice synced up streams here, looking for a nice close race. And we are already going to be starting with one of the 3 quest items, guys. The Stones of Sunlight has been found. Not much in the way of extra help, though, and no spells to start with. And only 10 HP and 0 MP. Or I suppose it might be, you know, yeah, not much there. And looks like we might be on the very edge of the map. What a crazy map to start out with. We have a town on the TheAmusedMiniature screen, and it's Cantlin, while Bobski tackles this Drakey for 3 experience points, getting on the board, going for some quick level ups right here in the hills. He knows that he has enough attack power to work with, although the Magidrakey might be a little tricky with such low HP. He's gonna have to take it out in a couple of turns, and unsuccessful. Back to the castle goes Bobski. I missed what was maybe for sale in those shops in Cantlin, but of course they're not starting with any money for right now. He just wanted to take a peek and see what he might be saving up for later. And we have 10 more power on level 2, guys. So it's almost time. It's certainly the Magidrakey we just saw is on the table. It might be almost time to go up to the north here and find the wolf. And with the sleep spell, as soon as the TheAmusedMiniature takes a death warp here and gains some MP to work with, you can actually maybe take down a wolf with that sleep spell, assuming it stays asleep. So a lot of possibilities early on here. We're going to get going pretty fast. And both have, interestingly, stuck to this very narrow little peninsula. Neither of them have crossed the bridge off to the west, where, you know, there may be some other things of use just a few steps away, but yeah, without actually having any money to work with, looks like the Scorpion unfortunately has what we refer to as the baby breath. So if you can't take him out in 1 or 2 turns, he might be worth avoiding. Thought I might have just seen the Magidrakey unleash that same ability. So that's a little bit unfortunate, since they do have the power now to deal with some of the stronger enemies, and Bobski is going to venture across the bridge. Now, if the sleep spell will stick for a little bit, you know, the Magidrakey and the Scorpion are still doable, but as soon as they wake up, they are breathing fire. Bobski just barely surviving that one. He is going to continue to try, and yes, 12 more experience points will put him up to level 3. And let's see if this wolf stays asleep for the TheAmusedMiniature. The trick here is he doesn't have a whole lot of HP remaining, and the wolf can swing pretty hard, and he does take him out. Kind of unfortunate there. He could have won that battle. We see a town and Charlotte Castle off to the west, so that's 4 locations in the books altogether. Bobski's just going to use the inn, not even going to bother checking what's in the shop for now. Pretty much all of his money is spent there, so he's just going to take an exit now and maybe peek around at some early exploration opportunities. So we're going to be in some random zones pretty soon. See if he goes after the wolf, because with 30 HP to work with, you can actually survive a hit from a wolf here. Problem is, it's going to take about 6 or 7 hits to take him down, so it really does have to stay asleep for a while, but it would be 40 experience points if he was so fortunate to get him. So puts him to sleep again. Staying asleep this time, 1 or 2 more hits would do it. Will Bobski have the good fortune? No, it wakes up and breathes fire this time for 21 damage. That is tough, because I think that he could have gotten that wolf if it happened to have low HP. He did a pretty good amount of damage there, but the every enemy in the game has a bit of a range of exactly how much HP they start with. That particular wolf happened to have more above average HP and woke up and took him down, so tough break for Bobski. He could have been on level 4 with that kill, but we'd have the TheAmusedMiniature now taking over the experience lead and has reached level 4 just a few seconds before Bobski. That comes with the return spell. Not particularly useful right now, but it's good to have that in the back pocket for later. And so both of our runners now are pretty much taking similar strategies. We poked around, made sure what we saw in the early shops, just making sure we know what we might be saving up for if there's a club available in the shop, for example, or maybe a copper sword. Then some of these early kills might be enough to just pop back in there and upgrade our equipment. And other than that, they are tending to stay within the primary zones and potentially even the secondary zone. Bobski venturing out a bit further away. And over here, he would probably be in the west zone, as the castle is right up against the coastline. And he is going to take a trip out into the world, crossing yet another bridge. Finds the wyvern. They do have the sleep spell, but I think he's just trying to run as far as possible. And now the armored knight is going to send him home. And it's good information to have that the armored knight only has the baby breath. So later on in the game, that actually might be a reasonable enemy. But so the Amused Miniature is sticking more with the early grind strategy, and Bobski is hoping for more of an early exploration strategy so far. Perhaps if there's a nearby cave, you could maybe take a peek in and try and get the dream, which would be the early Erdrick sword. And he's going to try a sleep but run from the wyvern, and just to the west of the castle is the red dragon, and it has hurt. Unfortunately, there's almost no way that he's going to get it away from this red dragon with only 22 agility. So back to the castle goes Bobski. And I wonder how many times he's going to venture out and do some of this exploration before realizing that he should probably just gain a few more levels before making all that happen. So the Amused Miniature has saved up some money. He's going to check out the second shop now. They don't have keys yet. There's a third shop in this town, which is accessible with keys. But there are two shops to work with. The second shop does have the copper sword. So that's plus 10 attack power for the Amused Miniature, which will do a very nice job now of improving his chances with the sleep and attack tactic against enemies such as the wolf. Now he's going to check out the west zone also, see if there's some additional enemies over here. Perhaps the warlock or the skeleton would be excellent choices at this point with 50 attack power with that copper sword. Unfortunately, the Drakey and the blue slime appear over in the west zone here. It's going to just pop in and out of Garenham. No use right now, doesn't have any money. And he's going to take a run for it, seeing what else he can see out in the world, and he finds the red dragon with the hurt spell. So they both have similar exploration knowledge now. And Bobski dons the dragon scale for +2 defense. So they've actually now converged on a somewhat similar balance between early exploration and early grinding. Both of them kind of peeking around in all directions. Bobski is back into the south zone now, finds another wolf. He unfortunately does not have the weapon upgrade, so it's going to take him probably 4 or 5 attacks to defeat the wolf. But if he is asleep, it's 40 experience and he gets him. So that's a very lucrative enemy right now. And it also drops quite a bit of gold. So a couple of more wolf kills and maybe Bobski can go grab that copper sword as well. The Amused Miniature is striking further out from the castle now. And it might be just about that time. With 50 attack power and the sleep spell at your disposal, you can make some progress here. And oh baby guys, level 6 yields hurt more. So if it wasn't time to go at level 5, it's certainly time to get started on level 6. And if the Amused Miniature can use the sleep and attack strat successfully against the Wolf Lord, and he does, he also has level 6. So just seconds apart, guys, on the exploration race. This is shaping up to be a close one, guys. So let's see who can make progress getting further along into the map with that Hurt More spell. And then, incredibly, the Amused Miniature actually gets away from the Red Dragon. There's a little bit of a bottleneck here where the Red Dragon and the Armored Knight are popping up just west of the castle. But there are some other hurt-moreable enemies around here, like the Wolf Lord. And Rimmeldar is found for Bobski. And the Amused Miniature. So about 3 seconds apart, we're going to have keys for both runners, guys. And this will open access to the treasury. Back in Tantegel Castle, there's 4 treasure chests there, all of which could potentially hold Erdrick's sword. We also have 1 additional treasure chest that takes 2 keys to get access to right here in the town of Rimmeldar. Didn't quite catch how much gold Bobski had to work with, how many keys he was able to buy, but the Amused Miniature is not going to bother with the chest in Rimmeldar. I think he had limited gold to work with, so just a couple of keys for both runners right now, but that is good news. Cantlin also is a useful town nearby, which they could quickly get the coordinates for the overworld search spot. So things are happening, guys. Got a relatively early Hurtmore seed, and this is a very close race right now. So Red Dragon doing a measly 54 damage on the Amused Miniature. One-shots him, sends him home. They haven't been able to upgrade their defensive equipment yet, so 19 and 21 defense power respectively. You're going to get hit very hard by Sharlock enemies, and they both are getting sent home almost at the same time by the Red Dragon. And in the treasury we have the wings, and we have an extra key, so potentially we could do some ghetto grinding in here if there's some gold. We have a cursed belt available, and there is gold in the middle chest. So with the key also available in there, you could pop in and out of there a couple of times and get yourself some broadsword money or something to that effect. The Amused Miniature is going to use this gold to buy some more keys, and with 6 keys to work with, he should be good to go in order to unlock most of the locations remaining in the game. And we're going to get a chance to see the 5th or 6th, I guess it would be the 6th location right here in the basement of the castle. And we do have a dark space, and it's going to be the grave, guys. So potential is on the table for some pretty early gold grinding. Unfortunately, 1 step in, and there's a Red Dragon, so it might be a little tricky to get to the 3 treasure chests that are immediately available on the top floor. But yeah, Bobski runs into a metal slime here. So interesting mix of enemies right here on the top zone for the grave. Bobski is making his way towards the 3 chests. And actually is getting fairly close. He's got a really good walk going. And the treasure chest glitch will be initiated already on the 2nd of the 3 chests here. So the first was the fairy water, and he does have a gold grind initiated. Unfortunately, I don't think they have the outside spell, so he may end up losing half of this gold. And I'm not sure how many of the shops he has checked out to know what he might be wanting to purchase in the near future. But this is some good fortune for Bobski. He could upgrade this equipment. We have a broadsword and a magic armor available in Garenham, and we're going to see what's in the back of Garenham. 3 additional treasure chests here, and an additional location in the basement. Yeah, so we have some gold and some more gold. And we have Erdrick's token. So the second of our 3 quest items is in the books for the Amused Miniature. And in the basement here, we are going to have the Rainbow Drop Cave. He doesn't yet have the Staff of Rain or the Silver Harp, which you'll need to get the Staff of Rain. But as soon as he gets that item, he can come back here to trade in for the Rainbow Drop, which gives access to the final dungeon. And I believe I just saw a chainmail and a large shield upgrade for the Amused Miniature, which is some really solid mid-game defensive equipment. In theory, he may not even really need to spend any more money on defensive equipment for the rest of the run here. We'll have to see what he wants to do about that later on, if he's able to initiate a gold grind. But Bobski is printing a tremendous amount of money in here, maybe with the idea that he is going to probably take a death and lose half of this gold on the way out. So sometimes what you'll see is runners actually taking double gold, potentially going all the way up to about 65,000 in gold so that he can still afford all the equipment. But no, he's going to try and get out of here with about 35,000 gold. I'm not sure if he actually saw the red dragon on the way through, so maybe doesn't realize quite how dangerous it is. But the metal slime would be a huge boost if he happens to get this on the way out. And any attacks? Oh, I think he had 2 damage, but it runs away yet again. So interesting. We have the TheAmusedMiniature back at the castle. I wonder if he'll take another trip into the grave to try for the gold grind, but no. He is going to just use hurt more strats and continue on through the seed here. And this Magidrakey will get him level 7. Bobski's kind of bonking around trying to re-find the entrance. They don't have the outside spell and they don't have any light source. So a lot of runners remembered how to get to the 3 chests, but it's a little bit more difficult sometimes to get out once you've gotten the 3 chests. And Bobski is successful, and he's still carrying a huge amount of money, and he has Cantlin. Remember, there's even a 3rd shop available here if he has an extra key available. So huge possibilities. He just goes ahead and gets the large shield because he's not sure if there's a silver shield available yet. So large shield for Bobski. Now he is going to check the additional shop. He can even refresh his keys right here with this old man. So now magic armor is the best armor that money can buy. So let's note that for Bobski. Doesn't bother with buying any more keys. The TheAmusedMiniature dies to the Armored Knight out in the overworld, which they have a pretty good chance to beat right now with the Hurtmore, since I think the Armored Knight does have the baby breath. Completely missed what was in the bottom shop there, but Bobski, I guess there wasn't much for weaponry in any of the 3 shops, right? So he's right now settling for the hand axe. But he does have one more town over here. I believe there's a broadsword available, so I'll expect Bobski to upgrade to the broadsword right now, and then he's just going to have a whole lot of money just carrying around in his travels. It's a good chance that he's not going to be able to hold on to it, but, you know, got some good equipment under his belt. And he will also check these chests and go confirm for himself that the Rainbow Drop Cave is in the basement here. So I feel like this all gives Bobski a little bit of an early advantage. He's not too far behind with experience while doing all this running around, and I feel like this equipment will help him to catch up a bit, while the TheAmusedMiniature still has just the copper sword and the chainmail. But it's, you know, when it's primarily hurt more strats, the extra equipment, not so much of a thing. But yeah, we see that Bobski has a great chance to take down this Armored Knight with 2 consecutive Hurtmores, and he does it. So just like that, most of that lead has evaporated. So nice job, Bobski, getting to level 7 now. And still feels like a really close race. Both runners are doing a very nice job of taking what the seed is giving, kind of making all the right decisions. And now we're about to have level 8 for the TheAmusedMiniature, which comes complete with small stat gains and a couple of very useful spells, including Heal More. Or I guess there was one spell at this level, but Heal More is very nice because that is going to improve his survivability here substantially. For example, if he were to miss a Hurtmore against the Armored Knight, he could perhaps choose to heal himself back up. Gives him a little bit of a better chance to try and run from the red dragon. They're still at only 45 agility, but you know, if you can heal more up in between, it's going to make his life much easier to survive and cover the rest of the map. There's still plenty of things that we still need to find out there. Primarily now, they're going to be looking for the 3 search spots to track down Erdrick's armor, and some additional treasure chests, which could contain Erdrick's sword, or in the Amused Miniature's case, he still needs the silver harp, which we have marked off for Bobski. I missed where he actually found that, so all 3 quest items in the books for Bobski already. This is turning into a bit of a jet seed, guys. Fast and furious. Hurtmores are being unleashed. The Amused Miniature has eked out a slight experience lead here. About a half a level ahead, about 300 points. And they are able to cover this map a bit more easily now. Werewolf sometimes one-shottable, and he is successful there for 95 experience. He's running out of resources. Magic Wyvern is a perfect Hurtmoreable enemy, but that is going to do it for his Hurtmores until he finds an inn or a Death Warp. Bobski in the same boat. Basically both out of resources now. And that's also level 9 now for Bobski, so both runners keeping pace with each other. Look at all these series of bridges and small islands that they're navigating through. That's a feature of the latest version of Randomizer. Map generation has been tweaked such that we have some more interesting layouts and paths to navigate throughout the overworld. And the Rimmildar chest, I'm told, actually had that silver harp, and if you recall, the Amused Miniature was in Rimmildar, but I think was unable to purchase very many keys at that time, so chose not to open that chest. And there's sometimes a pretty good chance of actually forgetting about that chest if you don't open it up the first time. So this is an interesting development. We'll have to see how far through the seed he goes before remembering that he should go back there and search that chest. So always a little bit of a gotcha when the Rimmildar chest has something important. And that right now is the main difference exploration-wise between the 2 runners, who have seen, for the most part, pretty much the same locations on the map. They both have access to keys. They've both upgraded the equipment slightly, although Bobski was more successful in creating that gold grind, so he's working with the broadsword and the magic armor, which definitely has some small benefits over the equipment that the Amused Miniature is hauling around with him, but so far that hasn't translated directly into retaking the experience lead, at least not yet. But here's what I was talking about before. The Red Dragon has the Hurt spell and seems to be casting it pretty often. And so now with the Heal More spell available and actually quite a bit of MP to work with, you could actually try and fight this Red Dragon, or you could just continuously try to run away from it until, you know, it's no problem. And the Amused Miniature actually successful with a stop spell and is attacking the Red Dragon for about 5 damage at a time, doing approximately 5 to 10 damage on the damage range, would mean that he's going to have to hit him somewhere in the neighborhood of about 15 times. But I actually think that he's going to be able to do it, because the Red Dragon spell is blocked and is not attacking very often, and anytime it does attack, he's got the option to heal more out of that damage. So this is a long battle, but it's going to be worth 255 experience and level 10. And if he actually was able to upgrade to that broadsword the way Bobski did, this battle would go probably twice as fast, and we're looking at a potential method of grinding up some levels. But he's going to want to upgrade his weapon in order to make this a little bit more efficient. But for now, I'm confident he is going to get this particular Red Dragon. It's just that while this battle's taking so long, Bobski's running around collecting experience points as well. But there's 255. Let's see if Bobski attempts the same thing here, because Bobski now also has Heal More, and he has the broadsword. So, and he is attacking. So both runners with the heads up play. And Bobski's also going to try the stop spell. Unfortunately for him, he was not successful with stop spell. So he may end up giving up on that plan when it might actually end up being a good idea. But the hurt spell is not doing a lot of damage anyways, so he's just going to go ahead and attack with the broadsword. Notice how much more damage Bobski's doing. I saw him do 15 damage earlier as opposed to, 5 to 10 damage that the TheAmusedMiniature was doing. So this is a much more reasonable fight for Bobski. And he goes ahead and swings with 41 HP. He could have died there. You're better off just taking the heal more early in this case because there's such a good chance for the red dragon to cast hurt that you don't really need to take these risks. He takes another risk there swinging at 40. But, and getting slightly unlucky that the red dragon seems to be attacking a little bit more often, but I feel like Bobski's a favorite to win this fight also. What an interesting turn of events that both runners have decided that they can get this done right now, so I like it. We're seeing just very similar strats from the first minute all the way through for both runners, and the TheAmusedMiniature, of course, is going to be able to double hurt more the Armored Knight. So there's not much out there right now that can harm these guys. If they're able to fight the two strongest enemies in the game successfully, they are ready to traverse that map and find the rest of the items. And it looks like Bobski took one death somewhere along the way, but is still hauling around about 13,000 and change gold. And so he could probably get himself back up to the 14,800 necessary to buy the silver shield just through regular gameplay here. If he happens to find another town a bit later on which has it. So keep an eye on that while the TheAmusedMiniature still has avoided trying to set up any sort of a gold grind. Has not been back through the grave, which is in the basement of the castle, since running into that red dragon earlier. Now that he can actually defeat a red dragon, it might be almost time for him to try and go back in there. Now he could even continue further down into the basement of the grave now, which neither runner has done. Because quite possibly the Erdrick sword is down there. We're not sure yet. I'm not sure if Bobski has checked the shop. That was one of the shops that I missed. Apparently there's probably no silver shield available there, but we still have the shop in Cole that hasn't been seen yet. And if and when they find the town of Brecon area, there's a shop there. So a couple of more chances for the silver shield to be available in the seed. And the TheAmusedMiniature, with some of these high experience encounters, has expanded the experience lead. He's got about 2,500 experience, and he's taking on another red dragon for another 255. So interesting, aggressive game strategies being employed by both runners, trying to take out as many of the high value enemies as possible. The Demon Knight here is really nice because, first of all, it has stop spell that it's casting pretty often, and unfortunately it follows that up with hurt more. But with the magic armor that Bobski has, he's doing reduced damage with the hurt more. And with the broadsword, he can pretty much two-shot the Demon Knight, and that's worth 90 experience, so that's not so bad. Of course, one-shotting a knight with hurt more is even more efficient. That's worth 78, so no shortage of experience points. They're going to be able to level up pretty easily. At this point, it's going to be more a matter of who is going to be able to cover this map so that they can round up the quest items and get everything done in preparation for assaulting Charlotte Castle. So Bobski has the quest items, but he still needs to find the Staff of Rain Cave to complete that task. He knows where the Rainbow Drop Cave is, but he needs the Staff of Rain Cave to complete the quest. And other than that, he doesn't necessarily need to open up any more chests. He can concentrate on finding search spots, which primarily is an issue of finding towns. We have a search spot in the town of Cole. We have another search spot in the town of Hawksness. And I don't believe he's been back through Cantlin to find that. Oh, he has, yeah. So we have coordinates which are 21 south and 11 west. I don't know if they've actually counted those out yet or not, but you know, the main thing for Bobski is he's going to have to eventually find Erdrick's armor. So finding search spots is going to be his priority now over opening more chests. Although, you know, you still are going to want to open the chests because Erdrick's sword has not yet been found. Oh, we do have the fairy flute for Bobski, so perhaps he did the count and it was the fairy flute. So, okay, I didn't see that marked off for Bobski, but he's using the flute successfully on the golem right now. And, yeah, okay, so we're being told in chat. So he counted those coordinates out. And so the overworld item was the flute, which means that the town of Hawksness has the armor. Did we see Cole already? I might be mixing up my seeds. If not, then Cole is still on the table as well. And the TheAmusedMiniature maintains the 1,000 point experience point lead with some of these aggressive tactics of taking on red dragons. And he has level 12, while Bobski just now gets level 11. So at level 12, we have the Repel spell, which is going to enable him to cover the map a little bit more efficiently by avoiding some of the smaller encounters that just cost you time at this point and are not particularly valuable for experience. So always nice to see the Repel spell pop up. And he is going to be sent back to the castle. I wonder if this is the time for him to go searching the grave now, which is in the basement. You always want to kind of do a thing like this when the routing kind of sends you in that direction. So you take a death warp and you think to yourself, well, is there anything I can do in the Tantigo region? Well, yes, I can go over here and buy more keys, and then I can go into the basement, which earlier he sort of left for later because the red dragon was unbeatable, but now we're seeing it's quite beatable with the tactics that he's been using. So into the grave goes the TheAmusedMiniature. He doesn't yet know what's in the top 3 chests, but as soon as he does get those chests, if he so chooses, he'll have a gold grind available through the treasury. So it's not clear at this point if it's even worth doing a gold grind. Silver Shield not yet located, and with Hurtmore strats, the weapon upgrades are not particularly interesting. I don't even think we've seen a flame sword yet either. So he may actually choose not even to bother with the gold grind, but he is going to try, I believe, to go into the bottom levels of the grave to get those chests out of the way to make sure that he knows whether or not the sword is hiding down there. I think we have the Stones of Sunlight cave finally for Bobski, which was nothing consequential. We have another cave up to the northwest. I don't think we've seen swamp caves yet. We've got a pair of caves. Looking primarily for the Staff of Rain cave if it was a matter of finding caves, but the mountain cave could still have the sword. So he is going to attempt to cover these 5 treasure chests in the mountain cave now. And yet another red dragon battle for the TheAmusedMiniature, and this has been paying off. Even though these fights are long, they're worth so much experience that it's enabled him to maintain this lead here. How long will it take, guys? Let's keep in mind, how long will it take for the TheAmusedMiniature to revisit Rimuldar and open that one chest for the harp? But first, we'll be going to the bottom of the grave while Bobski clears out Mountain Cave here. And once these runners do both of these things, we're going to have seen almost all of the chests. I think the only one, in addition to this, would be the Tablet Cave is still out there somewhere. Otherwise, the sword will be in Sharlock. So first of all, let's see if it's here. completely missed what the first chest was in the mountain cave. I'm assuming it was not the sword. And Bobski's actually running a little low on MP now. Trying to fight his way through the green dragon to potentially conserve. He might want to use some herbs here instead of using heal magic, and he does exactly that. Just to try to stretch the resources so that he can get all these chests on his first try. Again, not bothering with hurt more here. He wants to take the green dragon down the old-fashioned way. But now he realizes probably safer to just finish it off with the hurt more. So he is pretty low on resources. He'll get level 12 with that victory. But now he's going to have to hope for a friendlier zone on the second floor so he can just use the herbs to make it through this dungeon. And we have the death necklace for the amused miniature in the bottom levels of the grave, which Bobski may not end up ever going down in here. So there's a potential that Bobski could miss out on the death necklace in that case. And we have a couple of more chests here. It's the dragon scale for Bobski as well as the torch. So still nothing too exciting in the mountain cave. And he is going to cast aside the cursed belt for an extra torch. It's always nice to have a torch when it's time to go into Charlotte Castle. And the amused miniature seems to have enough resources to get to the bottom chest, assuming nothing catastrophic happens. Bobski's going to check the last torch, and the last chest is another torch, and he's going to go ahead and take another torch. So he has 3 torches to work with now. So I don't know that I saw what was in the chest that was near the staircase here. But the mountain cave seems to be a total bust. Really nothing at all useful there. And if things work out correctly for the amused miniature, he may end up never going into mountain cave. Like, for example, if he finds the sword down here in the bottom of the grave, there won't be any reason for him to go into mountain cave, assuming he remembers to go back into Rimmildar to grab the harp. Survey says another torch is found in the bottom of the grave. There's a lot of torches available in this seed. I think the runners have found them all, and we have Tablet Cave now for Bobski, which is the last chest, I think, from our perspective, before confirming that the sword is in Charlotte Castle. So is it here, or is it time to play the pyramid game? It is just an herb, and Bobski does not have the outside spell yet, so he's going to have to take the walk all the way back out. Always a little bit frustrating, but you can't be like really far out on the map and like not check this chest. If Tablet Cave was like right near start, maybe you could, you know, let that wait for later. But right now, wants to get these things out of the way. He does see another town, which at this point is the town of Cole. He is looking for search spot, guys. So he's going to want to see if the armor is sitting here right in the grass. And he had the money for a flame sword upgrade as well. And so if Erdrick's armor is here, there's a 50-50 chance he'll be really well geared up here. But it's the Nothing Burger. We can confirm the Erdrick's armor now is in the town of Hawksness, behind some sort of end game level guardian. And amusingly enough, the amused miniature also does not have outside, and he was all the way down in the bottom of the grave here. I kind of feel like he should just death warp. First of all, that would enable him to initiate a gold grind out of the treasury. And secondly, it would just help him avoid this long walk back out of the castle. He's located right in the basement of Tantegel, so there's no, like, you know, map position that he needs to worry about preserving here. Just wants to find a red dragon and just take a death at this point, but so far it's just kind of unsuccessful. You can still set up the gold grind if you happen to walk all the way out, by just not exiting Tanteagle, you can walk all the way up and around the boundary of Tanteagle and back towards the treasury. But again, I'm not really sure if he has seen any equipment that would make grinding worthwhile. Whereas Bobski did find the flame sword all the way out here at the town of Cole. So it's interesting. I'm kind of giving Bobski the advantage here in terms of exploration. He's got better equipment and he's got all the quest items. And yet the Amused Miniature has maintained an experience point lead, which seems to be closing right now. So we'll have to see now. If Bobski rounds everything up a bit faster, he'll have a chance to overtake the experience lead. So interesting little race we have here. It's fairly close overall. And the Amused Miniature is going to pop into the throne room first because he may not have started this process with a death warp. I thought he did, but he wasn't sure. So he's going to pop in to make sure that the 3 chests up there are accounted for, and there is a gold chest, I believe, in the middle of this pyramid. So it looks like he is going to go through the trouble to print some money here. He has very high survivability, so you can always just print this money now and just expect to be carrying it around for the rest of the game. Probably not going to take any more deaths. So if in fact you do find some worthwhile equipment later on, you'll have the gold. So and I've seen some runners resort to the search tactic on this gold grind. I think it's been confirmed that the take option remains the slightly faster option, but there's a little bit less menuing to be done with the search option. So the Amused Miniature going with the search command. We'll have to wait and see how much gold he wants to print for himself. Doesn't have any of the 3 best equipment that money could buy, so potentially we could go all the way up to 33,000, which is enough to buy the flame sword and the magic armor and the silver shield. But he may choose not to go after any of those items and stop a little bit short on the grind. So time will tell with that, while Bobski has a lot of those tasks already out of the way and is busy closing the gap on the experience lead, while the Amused Miniature takes this time away from battles. So I'm thinking right now Bobski has taken the lead in this race by a narrow margin, and I don't know if he's seen this cave yet, but we're running out of caves and he still needs that staff cave to complete the quest. So see if he's located it here. Not sure if we've seen them go through Swamp Cave yet either. But a lot of things have been found just right here on the first continent. May not be much going on. So he's circled back around and has relocated the Stones of Sunlight Cave. He's going to reorient himself and go in a different direction now. Looking for those last few things. Don't recall the Amused Miniature going in and getting those coordinates, but I assume that probably has happened, since it's not going in that direction right now. There is a magic armor for sale right here in the town of Cantlin. Already purchased that, so no weapon or shield upgrades for the Amused Miniature. We know that there's a broadsword in the nearby town of Garnham. Might take that while he's still looking for the flame sword. And he'll have some work to do to catch up on the rest of the exploration here. Will he remember that chest in Rimeldar, guys? It's a huge looming question for the Amused Miniature. Upgrades to the broadsword. So starting to get there with equipment now. Bobski now has started to pull away with this experience lead while looking for that one last thing. For the most part, I have liked what both runners have done in this race. I think they've both run solid races, no major mistakes. A lot of nice decisions have been made. A lot of efficiency with the battles that they've chosen. And he does remember the chest in Rimuldar and grabs the last of the quest items. Silver Harp in hand for the Amused Miniature. It is huge for him to have that now, because he can skip the mountain cave entirely now, which was full of nonsense. So that will get him back on track with the exploration battle. All 3 quest items in hand for both runners, neither of which have found the Staff of Rain cave yet. So that could prove to be a difference maker if one runner continues looking around for that and the other is able to take care of that task in the near future. Because we know where the Rainbow Drop Cave is, fairly close to start. And, you know, and there could be the potential of players in this type of situation running into Charlotte Castle early for a sword dive. But you can't do that without finding the Staff of Rain cave. So that's becoming priority, along with locating the search spots. In Bobski's case, he just needs to find the town of Hawksness, which is guaranteed to have Urgic's armor. And good point in chat, the Amused Miniature doesn't yet have Urgic's sword, of course, so it will make sense for him to go through Mountain Cave if he does locate that before having access to Charlock. And it would make sense for him to look for the sword at that time. So he still has a little bit of work to do, catching up with the exploration. And we're seeing specters pop up on the Amused Miniature screen, which suggests that he's currently not using the repel spell as often as he probably could. With 64 defense power, he could be repelling enemies such as the skeleton, while continuing to find hurt mortal enemies such as the Magic Wyvern and the Knight. But so far, it just continues to walk around without the repel spell in effect. Bobski as well is running into Magidrakes here. Anytime you have the Hurt More spell to work with, it's almost always correct to just keep that repel on at all times. But yeah, now we have Breckenary, which had, I think, the Flame Sword. Let me refresh memory here. So yes, the Amused Miniature was able to continue carrying all this gold around. And upgrades to the Flame Sword, I guess maybe took 1 death or something, because it doesn't have enough money for Silver Shield. If, in fact, the... which town are we missing here? Is there no Silver Shield? And I think we've seen the town of Cole as well, right? So, no Silver Shield available in the Seed, I'm thinking, at this point. Which means that they both have the same equipment at this point in time. So the race is heating up once again. The Amused Miniature doing some catch-up. Experience battle seems close now again. The exploration battle is even. The equipment is even. We have ourselves a great race shaping up here once again. I'm still not sure if the Amused Miniature ever went and got the coordinates and or searched them out. So from his perspective, there could be still a couple of different places that Urgic's armor could be hiding. Has found Mountain Cave, and hopefully for his sake, there'll be plenty of enemies in here, such as the Green Dragon, so that we're still gaining experience while taking the time to search all of these unfruitful chests that he's about to find in here. He's not going to have any reason to set up a gold grind out of this location, so clearing out these chests is somewhat of a formality, and as a matter of fact, still doesn't even have the outside spell. So a little bit of a time sink coming through here, unless he's going to be gaining tons of experience along the way. And the Metal Slime runs away on the 2 count, as we saw happened a couple of times for Bobski as well. So both runners not getting the luck with the metal slime. They are worth 255 if you can take them down, but generally speaking, only about a 1 in 3 shot that you're going to be successful in that encounter. And here's another opportunity for the Amused Miniature. Let's see if he manages it on this one. Both runners aggressively going after red dragons along the way, the other way that you can get 255 from a single encounter. There's even a third option for doing so, which is to defeat a golem. So multiple ways to get maximum experience in the randomizer. So Bobski mainly still looking for Hawksness and the Staff Cave. Looks like he's already seen this particular town, so he noped out of there and is going to go in a different direction. This is where some of the skill involved in traversing these newer maps from version 2.1 are going to start coming into play. Are the runners drawing maps for themselves? Are they taking notes? Are they really good at visualizing and remembering where they've been so that they don't retrace their own steps over and over, looking in places that they've already looked for those last couple of things? And a lot of the rest of the game sometimes can be even skill-wise, but the keeping track of the map is a skill on its own, and it seems to be somewhat complex of a task in a lot of these new maps. So we see Bobski kind of running around in circles a little bit, just looking for those last couple of locations while the Amused Miniature is about to finish up the mountain cave, and the experience battle remains close. And as mentioned, the Amused Miniature has to walk all the way out of the dungeon now. The outside spell, not yet learned on this late of a level, so it's just going to be one of the last things that they learn. Of note, they also don't have the regular heal spell yet, but less of a concern on that at this point in the game. Sometimes nice to have for the Sherlock dive for a couple of reasons, but it's pretty optional. And the Amused Miniature now exits, still has a pretty good chunk of MP to work with. I believe the Tablet Cave is right next door here, so probably going to go through the process of walking in both directions through the Tablet Cave as well. So this will take him another minute or so to complete this task. And probably, I think it was an herb down here or something like that for his troubles. And this is all just time lost because Bobski's already done this and could be fighting some enemies while the Amused Miniature wraps up this task. Not seeing a lot of enemies popping up for Bobski right now, but here's a wolf, so he is also not repelling at this point. May or may not be a better strategy to repel at this juncture, because it feels like they aren't going to need a whole lot more experience. We're in the borderline orange range already for the strength score. We have triple digit HP. We have almost triple digit MP. So we are basically Dragon Lord eligible, probably like in another level or so. So squeezing every last drop of experience out of the overworld at this point is probably second priority to just rounding up the rest of these items. We need Staff Cave and we need Hawksness. Another small note is that neither player has found the Fighter's Ring, which, if stats remain approximately as they are, we could end up in a borderline situation where the Fighter's Ring could put you over the top. That also, at this point, has to be in Charlotte Castle. And remember, there's one additional chest up on the second floor. So either the sword or the Fighter's Ring could end up there. We have seen the Death Necklace. That probably is not going to come into play in this one, but you never know. Occasionally you get a very large HP boost and basically nothing else. I think both... let's see now. I think only the Amused Miniature has found the Death Necklace, correct? Because I went down, and that was in the bottom levels of the grave, which is something Bobski may never end up doing. But probably not going to matter. Yeah, I think I recall it being in the bottom levels of the grave, yeah. So, one very small thing that could help the Amuse miniature. Looks like it won't be a factor, but you never know. Bobski actually is closing in on level 15 and still has not found what he needs to find on this overworld. It's starting to get a little bit frustrating for him, I'm sure, because you don't really want to get to go time when you're still looking for things. It's a little bit less than ideal. And you know, we're a small strength boost away from being ready to go, so 2 or 3 more big enemies away from level 15 is Bobski, and has expanded the experience lead while the Amuse miniature was running through those caves earlier. This must be quite the map, because both the Staff Cave and Hawksness, neither runner has found, and I feel like they've both found almost everything else. So those 2 locations have got to be someplace pretty far away and tricky to find. I also don't know if anyone has found the Swamp Cave yet. I don't think anyone's gone over to the second continent. See the backside of Sharlock on Bobski's screen. So yeah, he's just back at start now, and where are these 2 locations, guys? Hawksness for the armor, and the Staff Cave to complete the quest. Bobski is 1 more big enemy away. This is a small enemy. Continuing to not repel at this point in the race. And this Stone Man will do it if he wants to go for it. He's going to run from the Stone Man because it's just a longer battle and just not particularly worth it, although it does cast Stop Spell. Not a particularly dangerous Stone Man. But opts to run from that one. He'll continue on. Both runners are sporting about 65 agility right now, which is on the low side if you're talking about end game, but it's not that bad in terms of running from enemies like the Stone Man. So what is happening? Has Swamp Cave been spotted by the Amuse miniature? And with no outside spell, you are going to have to walk from south to north, unfortunately. But the things that they're looking for might indeed be right on the other side. Let's see this level for Bobski now. No power, but a pretty big HP boost, not quite enough to put Death Necklace in play. But another level up like that, and all of a sudden that will favor the Amuse miniature, who has the Death Necklace, and Bobski does not. So we'll follow that storyline as it goes. At this point, with 83 strength, if they were to find both the sword and the fighter's ring, that would put them up to 125 attack power, which is a little short when you're dealing with just 12 heal mores. You'd have to rely on that 120 HP giving you several double attacks to make that reasonable. I think it's just barely a situation where you don't want to risk it, especially given the fairly low agility stat and the low defense power that both of them have, since there was no silver shield available here. And Bobski has found Hawksness, while the Amuse miniature is still in the Swamp Cave, or let's see here. Yeah, that was an awful lot of encounters to get through the Swamp Cave. But it's possible that the Staff Cave is over here, while Bobski is finding Hawksness for the armor, so What is going on? And which town is this for the TheAmusedMiniature? And that is Hawksness. So wait a minute, did they both go through the the swamp cave, or is this a single continent situation? What just happened to Bobski? Why did I not see what happened to Bobski there? That is a shame. Being told he got wrecked before getting the armor. That could be very significant, guys, because it looks like it's quite a ways to get back to Hawksness here. And I don't know if this blue dragon is the spike tile enemy. But the TheAmusedMiniature is a good favorite to win this battle. It was the enemy, so he will be gaining the armor first. What a race, guys. This is like going back and forth now. TheAmusedMiniature has the armor first, but now has about a 1300 experience deficit to make up. Is just the Staff of Rain cave away from being in grind and go mode, while Bobski has to retrace his steps all the way back to Swamp Cave to take care of that task and acquire the Staff of Rain. So if the TheAmusedMiniature can get himself into grind and go mode before Bobski, could have an opportunity to make up some ground on the experience, although the blue dragon is not the greatest thing to find for a grind enemy, especially when Urgic Sword's not been found yet. Can't recall if either of our runners has checked out the tile guarding the princess in the Swamp Cave. I guess Swamp Cave was just recently found, so I guess they haven't checked that tile yet. So it might be a little bit more difficult for the TheAmusedMiniature to make up the experience gap with not a great grind choice immediately obvious here. Another red dragon is being battled by Bobski, so no problem getting the experience in this seed. We're probably not even going to see an endgame grind at all. It's just taking them a while to traverse the map and round up the items. We're a little over an hour into the seed, so it is still fairly quick, all things considered. It just feels like these last 20 minutes, they've both run into a bit of a roadblock with just covering and exploring the rest of the map. And as mentioned, Bobski on level 15 does have outside, so is able to skip right through the swamp cave that the TheAmusedMiniature took a couple of minutes getting through. Seemed to have a high encounter rate in there for whatever reason. So back for round 2 on the Hawksness situation for Bobski. Has a lot of MP to work with this time. It's a very, very large favorite to get this done this time around. More red dragon encounters. It's fun that they've been able to dispatch so many red dragons, the bane of so many seeds. The enemy you almost always don't want to see. And in this one, they've gained quite a lot of experience from just these red dragon encounters, from a fairly early point in the race as well. We saw the TheAmusedMiniature go after one doing just 5 to 10 damage and successfully took it down way back then. So blue dragon fight for Bobski. Doesn't seem to have any special abilities, so almost definitely going to be successful here for the armor, which leaves just that pesky Staff of Rain cave. Where is it? Which cave is this on screen for the TheAmusedMiniature? It's going to take a double check here. This red dragon, by the way, would give the TheAmusedMiniature level 15, which will gain the outside spell and will take him that much closer to Dragon Lord eligible stats. Pretty borderline here on level 15, but both runners are clearly going to go for 16 since they don't even have everything yet. So this Bobski doing additional fights on the blue dragon while he's here, and it is the Staff of Rain Cave for the Amused Miniature. So his quest is done. The Rainbow Drop Cave, I believe, was in the basement of Garanham, if I recall, which is pretty close to start. So he's going to cast the Return spell, take care of the Rainbow Drop situation immediately, and Sharlock's actually pretty nearby as well. So one of the things that might be a thing for him is to just grind down through Sharlock. Usually there's some high experience enemies in there, rather than going all the way back to Hawksness for a blue dragon grind, or checking out what might have been available over at the Swamp Cave, which also wasn't particularly convenient to get to. And he might even consider a dive and grind. Problem with that is they're not defense breaking any enemies yet, since the Silver Shield's not been acquired. 73 defense power and 66 agility makes grinding your way down through Sharlock fairly difficult while conserving resources. But it still might be the play, or you just go in there and hurt more some enemies as quickly as you can to get 16 and see what that yields. But so Rainbow Drop in the books for the Amused Miniature, and Bobski, I think, is on track here. This might be the desert. Nope, this is a different desert. Staff of Rain Cave was found in the desert that looked a little bit like that. I wasn't able to track exactly what part of the map that was. Not sure how close Bobski actually is to it geographically. But we are going straight into Sharlock for the Amused Miniature. Down on the experience battle, but ahead on exploration now. We'll see how those two factors intersect, and whether or not the Amused Miniature is potentially able to dive and grind for this last level. The race is on. So here, for example, not even defense breaking the Star Wyvern, which is usually one of the enemies you'll want to see when grinding and conserving resources, but took about 2 hits. That's the other factor, is they don't yet have Erdrick's Sword, so a lot of times you're not even two-shotting the enemies that you're hoping for. In this case, he one-shots it because he gets the excellent move. But when you're 3-shotting something such as the Star Wyvern and you don't have the defense power, you're taking about 50 damage from that fight. So yeah, we're going to see heal more strats here, and he's just going to go for the sword dive. This is almost definitely not going to be V-dive for endgame, but having Erdrick's Sword could make the rest of the grind a bit faster if, for some reason, we have to go to like level 17 or 18. Oh, here we go, guys. Bobski has located the Staff of Rain Cave, and level 16 has recently been acquired by Bobski as well. And it might be go time. We have 3 additional power for Bobski, putting him up to 86 strength, which will give him 128 attack power if he can find both the ring and the sword in Sharlock. With 128 attack power, you're looking at usually needing about 13 heal mores. He has 12, but he can usually rely on getting 1 or more double attacks with 124 hit points. Doesn't really have very good defense power to make that more likely, but still pretty likely for at least 1 double attack. The issue is we have already seen that there are red dragons on the top floor. These red dragons are not that dangerous, but they'll still be pretty hard to run from with 69 agility. I think he's got to go in and try on this level. It might be a little bit of a difficult dive, but I think 16 is go time. He's going to go get the Rainbow Drop and then probably re-enter Garanham for an inn stay. Potentially refresh herbs and torches, and it is go time for Bobski. The Amused Miniature has maintained some MP here. It's a little bit interesting. Like, if he were to gain a lot of power on level 16, he's keeping the door open by trying to hold on to most of his MP here. Unfortunately, he's not going to get what he needs on 16. But I kind of like the play. He's still kind of far away from 16, so I don't know. It's a little bit, he's kind of caught in the middle. Like, is this a sword dive, or is this like a dive that could win the game? Still kind of far away from the level, and not an easy way to get the experience without taking a lot of damage. Like right here, he's choosing to run from a green dragon when he could be hurt mooring it. Now he's gonna fight, so it's a lot of kind of I don't want to say indecision, but it's a little bit of a tricky situation. Doesn't seem to be quite sure. And now he's casting Heal More. So I think this has turned into a sword dive just now for the TheAmusedMiniature as he's on the bottom floors here. And Bobski, I am thinking, is going for game here. Let's see how many red dragons he runs into. And the red dragon does spam hurt. So in this situation, you could either fight your way through those, or even just try and run from them. You have a better than 1 in 3 chance of running from a red dragon. So far, just hasn't even run into hardly any enemies on the top section, which is just kind of a dream, because this top floor is where the red dragons were. Oh my gosh, Bobski just immediately hurt mooring a Star Wyvern. That is completely not what I expected. I thought he was going to be conserving MP on this dive. So it looks like he's going to go for 17. Which opens the door for the TheAmusedMiniature. If the TheAmusedMiniature goes in at 16 with Erdrick's sword in hand, assuming he's able to get it on this dive, and Bobski goes for 17 and redives, all of a sudden the TheAmusedMiniature has a chance to win this race, guys. So things are heating up. It's interesting to see how the end game is being approached here. I think 16's enough, but Bobski just going straight to 17 on the sword dive here. Huh. Second to last floor for the TheAmusedMiniature is going to have no problem getting to the treasury. Remember, we're looking for the fighter's ring and the sword to make the numbers work out for 16. And one or both, or one of those items could be up on the second floor treasure chest. So let's play the guessing game now. Where are these items? Here we go. Let's search the chests. And so we have the wings and we have the Axe Knight. Take a detour to dispatch the Axe Knight. The TheAmusedMiniature only about 600 points away from the level now. Nothing of consequence in the second chest. We have the fighter's ring has been found first, so there's no forgetting about the fighter's ring since you find it first. And Erdrick's sword has been located, and I haven't seen him actually equip the fighter's ring yet. That's sometimes a thing. And potentially is going to continue around to get a bead on what the mini-boss is, while grinding in here for this last level before casting outside. In best case scenario, you want to get this level first so that when you go back to the inn, you get the benefit of any MP that might be gained on this level 16. So he's taking a few extra fights to get 16, and if that happens to take him all the way around to the mini boss, he'll get a little bit of extra information. And Bobski is very close to getting his sword out of the treasury, and he is about halfway to level 17 now. And he also seems to be sort of in between, where he wasn't sure if he was conserving MP or not, but now he has just burned another heal more, so sword dive it is, most likely for Bobski. He's still about 1,000 away. Have dual green dragon encounters. This is going to get the level for the TheAmusedMiniature. So once he gets this level, does he continue to take a little bit of extra time to go check out the mini boss, or is it an instant outside, go to the inn, and go for game? Looks like we might be continuing forth to check out the mini boss and continuing to fight battles just in case he wants 17. Still not sure that he ever equipped the fighter's ring, guys. So there's the outside spell. And it would be, you know, assuming he was considering going for game at 16, it would be a fairly large error to not equip the fighter's ring in this case, because those 2 attack power are essential for making this doable in this particular situation. So Bobski's cleared all the chests. He also now has the fighter's ring and the sword, and I completely missed if he has actually equipped the fighter's ring. And he also might be going for mini boss information while getting level 17. I just got to look at his stats, but completely missed. Oh my goodness, I wonder if Bobski's going to be going upstairs looking for the death necklace. Since he never went down to the bottom of the grave, he does not yet have the death necklace. But no, he's thought better of it, casts outside, goes to the end. The other thing that he could have done was to get 17 before casting outside in order to gain any extra MP. But he is looking to possibly just do a diving grind for these last 800 points. So he'll have 103 MP to work with on this dive, hoping just for a little bit more of a power bump en route through the castle. And they're both going for game, and they're both on the top floor of Sharlock. This race couldn't possibly be any closer, guys. Who's going to get the encounter luck? Who's going to get the run luck? Who is going to encounter certain types of enemies and run away? It is on. Shaping up for a bit of a photo finish, assuming Bobski doesn't take a huge amount of time with some of these Red Dragon encounters. Still just 69 agility on level 16, guys. So these Red Dragon encounters, although not particularly dangerous, are a bit of a nuisance. Because what do? Do you risk failing lots of run attempts, which is costly in terms of time? Or do you just fight your way through, which is also taking a bit of time? Fortunately, now that they have the sword, they're doing a bit more damage to the Red Dragon, so you're sometimes 3-shotting the Red Dragon in this situation now, so Bobski is choosing to fight them instead of running. And so far so good on maintaining the MP, and I'm going to assume he still has a full stock of herbs. The TheAmusedMiniature is a floor ahead now, geographically. And into the second zone, which I don't believe had any red dragons in it, so he'll be able to run away and run through this floor a bit faster than Bobski is able to run through this first floor. So he's continuing to pull up. No, wait, there are red dragons in this zone as well. I stand corrected. So both runners are going to have to stop what they're doing and deal with the red dragon. Have maybe about a 30-second lead for the TheAmusedMiniature in this race now. And this is the last floor of the middle zone for the TheAmusedMiniature, and he makes it out of the zone and into the bottom zones, which thinking this zone maybe didn't have anything dangerous. Felt like somewhere along the way it was not very dangerous. So what is happening here? I don't know. He's part of the way to level 17, and yet he is running from monsters now. So I wasn't sure if he was planning on getting 17, but now I feel like he's running from enough monsters that he's going to just go for it on 16. And that will give him the lead in this race. If he were to take some fights to try for 17, that would probably give Bobski enough time to walk right past him. But if he's just going to go for it, he is going to get first opportunity on the Dragon Lord here, most likely. And successfully running from several battles, even despite the 69 agility score. It's an interesting situation. On level 16, we have almost all of the stats are in the orange. So you can see how borderline this really is, but it's still probably doable in the right circumstance. Don't think he ever got all the way around to the mini-boss to see what that was. Trying to think of what's the worst case scenario for this mini-boss upcoming. But we're about to see what it is. Wisely using the herbs to boost up that HP in preparation, and it is a golem, and the Amused Miniature is the one that did not count out the coordinates for the flute. So we are going to be losing some HP here in this battle, as the golem casts Hurt More and occasionally punches. Oh my gosh, it's going to stop spell instead of attacking and instead of healing, and he blocks the spell. I guess he wasn't sure if the next hit would be enough to kill the golem. Oh my word, what an interesting play that was. So now he is able to conserve just enough heal more. He's going to start the fight at 102 instead of using one additional herb to get all the way up to 124 HP. Not sure about that either. I guess in the interest of speed, just wants to get started here. Takes a couple of swings at the Dragon Lord, gets one stop spell. So he's going to use the last couple of herbs, and he also has a regular heal that he could use, but he gets another stop spell, guys. Oh, but 3 hits was not enough. He low-rolled his attacks. So he's going to have to take a 4th attack, and he gets another stop spell. So we are going into the Dragon Lord fight in a winnable situation. Low agility. Let's see if he gets back attacked. And he does get back attacked, unfortunately. So now it becomes extremely borderline if he can't eke out a double attack right out of the gate, and he cannot. So he's going to rely on getting a couple of double attacks with that 124 HP in order to get the necessary damage done. And I'm also still not sure if he ever equips the Fighter's Ring, guys. I don't know if anybody caught that, but that would be a little bit of a disaster if he's in this fight with 126 attack power instead of 128 attack power. That makes actually a really big difference in this particular fight. I'm noticing some single-digit rolls here. I've lost count exactly, but this is not looking good if he doesn't have the ring. He's going to need some max rolls with the ring, which would be 14. Max roll without the ring would be 13. I'm not very confident that this is going to happen here for the Amused Miniature. And in the meanwhile, Bobski is getting close to the bottom floor. Bobski, by the way, has had to burn a couple of heal mores. He's down to 87 MP and might now be resorting to getting level 18, which would occur at 14,250. Because if he can get 18 along the way, that could save this dive, assuming he continues to have the 10 heal mores to work with. So I'm not sure what exactly happened to Bobski there, but he's down to 10 heal mores. And so it's possible that they might both be unsuccessful on this dive, which just ratchets up the stress for both runners, as they would both have to re-dive in here. And what sort of damage are we looking at for the Amused Miniature? Is he getting enough double attacks? Is he getting enough damage? He's got full HP, possible double attack on the last. Nope, but... Oh, he gets a miracle double attack at the end. Is it going to be enough? No! Low rolls the damage. 8 is not going to do it. Dragon Lord puts him down. Ooh, that is unfortunate. I wish he would pull up his status screen to give us a look and see if he actually equips that Fighter's Ring, guys. 147 damage is the count from our chat, so that last attack could have been enough if he got a high roll. Unfortunately, he rolled an 8 on the last attack. He's going to have to redive. And we'll also get to see whether or not he feels like he wants to finish out this level. It was about halfway through the level to get to 17. Might want to stop at that town that he just walked past to rebuy some herbs if he used them all here, but he just walks right in, so he may not have any herbs to work with this time. And Bobski's going to give it a go on level 17 with 10 heal mores. 17 did give a pretty good power boost. We're looking at 134 attack power right now for Bobski. And with the potential double attacks, this is still a doable fight. And I don't think he got back attacked here by the second form. I've lost track already on what's going on with his damage. Had a chance for a double attack, but he gets a max breath attack, so denies the double attack possibility there. He had 128 hit points, but he never found the death necklace, so that was not an option for Bobski. But this should be a doable fight with 10 heal mores, assuming he had full HP and no back attack. Because you're probably favored to get 1 or possibly 2 double attacks with this particular stat setup. So I would call Bobski a favorite here. I'm seeing some double-digit rolls for the most part on his damages. There's another 13 for Bobski. Oh, and here's a double attack, and this should seal it in my completely fuzzy math opinion. I feel like Bobski's a pretty big favorite to win now. And the TheAmusedMiniature, I think, realized that he was out of herbs. So he is going to go back to the herb shop now. He's going to restock and maybe take a trip to the inn and go back in with full herbs. Bobski down to 1 heal more in reserved. It's going to use the last heal more. So are his next 2 attacks going to be enough? I think he's favored. 12 damage is just enough on the last attack. Get your GGs out. Excellent race from Bobski. Went halfway through to level 18, but decided 17 was enough. Went in a fairly borderline situation. All the soldiers are dressed in purple for him today. They're going to play the trumpets and celebrate the victory. Bobski 1-0 in this tournament. The first round is under his belt. Gets a victory in this year's tournament. The TheAmusedMiniature ran an excellent race. It really was very even, basically all the way through this race. Actually went back and forth on a couple of occasions, both in terms of experience and with exploration. And some of this end game just went Bobski's way. The TheAmusedMiniature had first crack at the Dragon Lord, but just came up short in his fight against the Dragon Lord, doing just 147 damage, unfortunately for him. And that gave Bobski the window of opportunity to come in and claim victory. So while we wait to see if Bobski has the time to join us today, we're going to see the TheAmusedMiniature is on the redive, still with full resources, and 1 battle away from level 17. Decides to run from the wizard, doesn't get 17 quite yet, but he's got plenty of opportunities to get that done. And looks like I think I may have to drag him in. Let's make this happen. Bobski, are you in?
I am, if I unmute my mic.
All right, congratulations on what's going to turn out to be a pretty narrow victory, as the TheAmusedMiniature is currently on the redive and getting close to fighting the Dragon Lord. So well done. Congratulations.
Thank you. I couldn't help but feel behind for most of that season.
So what about it made you feel behind? Because it seemed to me like just the last like 2 things that you needed to find took a really long time. Just trying to cover the map, you were retracing your steps a few times, but other than that, I'm not sure.
I think that was it. I vaguely recalled seeing Hawksness sooner, and I'm not sure that I stumbled into it the first time I went through the Swamp Cave. I think it was a seed that I was practicing before this that I was recalling having been in Hawksness. So if I remembered that I had been in Hawksness, then I was way behind because I knew the armor had.
Yeah, because you were the one that counted out the coordinates. You got the flute, and then I think there was the nothing on the coal spot. So yeah, you knew for quite a long time the armor had to be there. But it was Hawksness and it was the Staff of Rain Cave that you still had to find for kind of a while. And you were getting just more and more experience, and it was like, wow, at some time it's going to be time to fight the Dragon Lord, and he doesn't have access yet. So
Yeah, I was worried about having to get a whole extra level just because I wasn't going to be able to run from things. I knew that our agility was a little bit low, and I was just getting really unlucky, getting a lot of enemies that I shouldn't be able to run from for most of the game. The AK was just showing up every.
Yeah, and so it looked like you were a little bit in between on a couple of your dives there. It looked like you were trying to maintain MP on your first dive, and then you weren't quite sure, so you were taking some fights, but you guys didn't have the silver shield, so anytime you wanted to fight something, it was doing all sorts of damage. And then finally, it just kind of like turned into a sword dive, and then so then you got that level, and then you were starting to make take some more fights for potentially another level. So yeah, it was a lot of tricky decisions for that end game, and at the end you said, well, 17 is going to be enough here, and you just went for it, and it was down to the last attack, but pulled it off.
Yeah, that was way too close on the Dragon Lord for that level 17, but I didn't want to go out again because I knew that I didn't pick up enough agility to reliably run from as many red dragons as I saw. So it was going to be a problem getting back to where I was. So I just decided to do it.
Yeah, there was a huge MP gain on 17, but you guys both got 17 on the way down. So you had to just work with, I think in your case, for some reason, you were down to 10 heal mores. Looks like the TheAmusedMiniature might manage to have 12 heal mores. On his case, he actually never counted out those coordinates for the flute, and it turns out the golem is the mini-boss. So in both cases, he has had some issues with the mini-boss, and that actually may have cost him on his first dive, because he had to spend some resources on the mini-boss, and then he proceeded to get back attacked by Dragon Lord 2. Ended up doing 147 damage and came up short, but so in some cases, going out of your way to get that flute can make the difference, and you got it, and turned out to be helpful.
Yeah, I saw the coordinates and decided that it couldn't be that complicated to walk it. It was just across a little bit of water, so that was an okay coordinate.
Yeah, you'll see when you watch it back, you both had similar strategies for the whole early and middle games, and it was a very close race throughout. And the experience battle kind of went back and forth, and then also the items. You found some of the items slightly earlier, in pretty much every case, I guess, which is what gave you the edge there, and until it was that last, those last 2 things that you had to find. But it's funny because I think the harp ended up in Rimildar, and when you both got to Rimildar, I think you both were only able to afford like 1 or 2 keys. So you both like left that for a little bit later. But then you went right back to it and got the harp, and for a while he just wasn't going back to it, and I was wondering if that was going to be a problem. But then he eventually did remember, and he got the harp a little bit after you. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else you guys could have done differently. It looks like you guys both handled the seed really well.
Yeah, it looks like it was a really close race, especially if the TheAmusedMiniature already had a Dragon Lord fight under his belt here and did all but a couple damage. So that's a really
he
close race. I'm glad it turned out.
ended up going for it at 16, which, as you remember, those were much more borderline situations. But he did manage to carry most of the MP to that fight. So at 16, it probably was technically doable. Just went for it and didn't quite work out. 17, of course, was much more comfortable, which is the level that you want at. So you were on 17 while he was on 16, but since he was going for it on 16, it was like you were both approaching the Dragon Lord pretty much together, and yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, 16, I thought about it. I highly considered it, and I actually, on the sword dive, I was trying to keep enough MP that I would be able to do it if I got lucky. But I couldn't get there. I kept running into things that were going to run block me. And the TheAmusedMiniature has beaten the Dragon Lord as well.
Nice, and he is going to finish in a close second place in the realm of an hour and 36 minutes. I'm going to see if he wants to come in very quickly. I am personally almost completely out of time, but let's see if he wants to join. Shout out to All We Have a Chance for Fury SK for scrambling to put together his first restream and doing a great job putting on the show for us today, which almost wasn't possible. And Archfield Monk for doing the tracking, which since tracking is pretty much over with, he may actually have to come in here and wrap this up because I'm almost basically going to have to run out the door. But first, we're going to try and drag the TheAmusedMiniature into the room here. And here he is. What's going on? The TheAmusedMiniature, very solid race. Congrats on a well-run race, and you almost had him on your first
here he is. What's
battle
going on?
with the dragon.
TheAmusedMiniature. Yeah, I was definitely kicking myself because I forgot to put on the fighter's ring, and I think that really could have made the difference there. It was really unfortunate. The only other mistake that I really saw was just that I forgot that I had Hurtmore a little earlier on, so I kept trying to run away from Armored Knights and failing. But other than that, it was a very, very solid seed. GG to Bobski, by the way.
Yeah, I think the fighter's ring does make the difference because it was a full 1 damage difference on average with this particular, where 126 versus 128. So 1 damage for every turn that you had, you would have done, in theory, another 10 or 11 damage to the Dragon Lord, which I'm not sure exactly how much HP ended up having, but it would have given you a much better chance, I suppose. But yeah, other than that, it was a nice, solid race. I don't know if you remember any other particular difficulties that you ran into.
Probably the only other difficulty was that I kept trying to run, and so it kind of resulted in an end game grind, a little bit of a mini grind, if you will, on the way down for the sword. I was trying to compact that all into one because I knew that the fighter's ring and Erdrick's sword had to be in Sherlock. So I was hoping that we could just do it all at once.
Yeah,
And
I saw that. I noticed it was sort of like you were caught in between. Do I want to grind and conserve, or do I want to just make this a sword dive? And it was sort of like, it was tough because you guys didn't have the silver shield, and so anytime you were fighting anything, and you also didn't have Erdrick's sword, so like you were 3-shotting a Star Wyvern, for example, and then he would do like 50 damage to you. So it was just hard for you to conserve the resources and still get the experience. Yep, that was a tough situation.
yeah, absolutely. And the big thing there was that with the MP that I had, I might have been able to spare like a heal more or something and been okay if I put the Fire's Ring on because if I counted correctly, I think I did like 157 damage to the Dragon Lord or something like that on my first attempt. So it was super, super close. Um, and that Fighter's Ring could have definitely made the difference there as well. I just didn't want to risk it. Trying to save the resources didn't pan out, so I just turned it into a sword dive, and then regrettably forgot to put the Fighter's Ring on.
And I kind of like some of the stuff you guys did fairly early in the race. Like you recognized first, I think, the Amuse miniature that the red dragon was spamming hurt, and you attacked it with like you were doing like 5 to 10 damage to the red dragon, and you managed to take it down for some pretty good experience at that portion of the race. Which I like aggressive strats like that. I think anytime you can recognize that that's possible, that was a nice call. Of course, you guys didn't have any agility at that point, so running would have just been frustrating anyways. And then you guys both continued to do that throughout the race. You were I don't know how many red dragons you both killed, but that's always nice to see.
Yeah, the red dragon. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, we have abysmal agility. Why not try stop spell? See if I can get a lucky stop spell, and then we'll take 20 turns taking down this red dragon. So it did end up panning out for some really nice experience. I was glad that I did not go and get the princess. I was really thinking about it when I saw Swamp, just because I knew the coordinates were right there, but it ended up panning out that Hawksness was just on the other side.
Oh, that's the other quick thing too that was interesting is that, those coordinates were they turned out to be relatively walkable, and I don't think you ever went for them. Turned out to have the fairy flute, and as it turns out, the golem was the mini boss. And I feel like that actually almost would have made a difference on your first dive as well, because you had to spend quite a lot of resources on the golem. I don't think you cast heal more, but you had to like burn all your herbs afterwards, healing up and stuff like that. I think you cast stop spell on it to avoid the hurt more damage at the end. But it was just interesting that sometimes something as simple as the fairy flute can actually come into play.
Yeah, and the thing with the fairy flute for me is that I felt that I was behind. Like I just felt that I was really far behind. We were rapidly approaching the hour seed. I still hadn't found the armor or the staff trade in at that point. And so as I was feeling like I was behind, Bobski is a guy that just constantly and consistently wins against me. I don't think that I've ever placed better than him. So I'm pretty happy overall with the seed. And I just decided to go aggressive with it and all out. And I was like, okay, we got the armor, we got the token, we're going to the castle right now.
Yep, you'll see when you watch this back. It was a very close and super competitive race all the way until the end. So, definitely kudos to both of you guys for very solid races. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to wrap this up immediately because I'm actually running late now for somewhere I have to be. But Bobski, you're 1-0, and you'll be facing another 1-0 opponent in the second round of Swiss. And the Amuse Miniature, as an 0-1 now, you're going to get to face off against an 0-1 opponent, give you a chance to bounce back and secure a victory perhaps next week. So, good luck on your future races in this tournament. And later tonight, for anyone that happens to be viewing right now, we have a whole bunch of races on the schedule. We have one scheduled for 6 p.m. Eastern, one scheduled, and that might be on a separate network, in fact, but 7 p.m. Eastern, there's going to be a nice race here on the Randomania networks. There'll be one offline at 8 o'clock, but at 9 o'clock Eastern, there's going to be a really big race between Tilo Tilo and Nest Cardinality. Looking forward to that. That one might also end up on a different network. But there's also a quad scheduled currently for 10 p.m. So all sorts of stuff happening tonight. I'm glad we were able to get this broadcast for you guys. And for anyone that's watching, I guess it's time to go. So thanks everybody for watching. Have a good rest of your day and see you next time.